Welcome to the Exploring New England podcast with Ryan Zipp, where each week I will be talking about what makes this historic region such an amazing place to enjoy. From the scenic views to road trip ideas to where to grab the best eats and much more. Let's get going. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Exploring New England podcast with me, Ryan Zipp. Thank you all for tuning in and joining me again for another episode. Last week I spoke about some spots to go check out, some great spring blooms that are happening right now. And one of the locations I mentioned was the great city of Boston. And I took my own advice and got myself up there this past weekend. It was pretty long overdue. I hadn't been there since October to check out some fall foliage and get a visit in then. But I definitely needed to get back there. It's a place I love going, walking around with my camera and just soaking it all in. So I made it up there for 2 nights this past weekend. It couldn't have been any better as far as timing goes. The blooms all looked amazing and had some good weather. So I kind of wanted to talk a bit about the trip on this week's episode and kind of share where I went, kind of spots I enjoyed, of course, where I ate, had some adult beverages, and just to, give a little bit more of me and what I'm all about and what I do on these trips away with my camera, which is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to start a podcast. So I thought it would be cool to kind of recount the trip for me up there. And so let's go. I ended up getting into the city just after, it was just before sunset actually. And my home base for this stay there was Back Bay, the Back Bay neighborhood. And the hotel I booked kind of last minute because it was a good deal was the Cople Square Hotel in Back Bay. And I actually didn't even know it till later when I was checking a little bit more about it, that it's the second oldest continuously operated hotel in Boston. And it was built in 1891. So pretty awesome to stay in something that's just had such history there. I believe they hosted Babe Ruth and some jazz legends from back in the day when I was reading up on their website. But I stayed there for 2 nights, for both nights, and it's still the old building, but they have done a good amount of renovations. They have 2 different bar restaurants located there as well. I grabbed a drink at one of them on the way back one night. I didn't eat there, but I did notice it was funny because after checking in, they did say how only one elevator was working. I don't know if there was only one other or 2 others. They were both being worked on. So I had my bags with me. So I hopped in one elevator and it was like just super old school and small. I had to like turn sideways to get in with my bags. So I got in with a few other people. And it was just the ride up. I was like, oh no, you're just like always thinking the worst because they already mentioned that they were, down another 1 or 2 elevators. But I did make it up to the 3rd floor where I was staying. So got to the room and I had read, I think the rooms were renovated like 2022. So, 2 or less years ago. So the rooms were nice. Bed was comfortable, clean. So, and it wasn't like super cramped like some hotel rooms can be in cities like Boston. So for what I got it for, the location, everything, I would definitely recommend it. Like I would stay there again if, I made it up and was staying in that area. It ended up being a great home base, just to kind of walk around because that's the one thing about Boston. I think I mentioned it's a very walkable city. Even for like being, such a large city, you can kind of get most places on foot. So I took advantage that first night, and I didn't have much daylight time, but I, made sure, got walking around some of the Back Bay neighborhoods. And like I said before, the blooms were like pretty much perfect. I couldn't have nailed it any better. I had previously only been there for springtime twice and had some good shots, but this was definitely the best I've seen there myself. And yeah, it was just awesome experiencing it. Like, so we had good blooms here in Connecticut. There was good blooms there so far this spring. So I'm crossing my fingers. It's a sign of good things to come for the rest of them. So we shall see. But yeah, so I walked around, and made it down to the public garden, of course, which is a favorite of mine. Could walk around there forever. And I'm sure a lot of you have been or seen photos. If you haven't, it's kind of like a mini Central Park, kind of in that area. They have the Boston Commons right next door. And they also have a number of different trees. And I love how there's like signs on each one. So you know what they are. You're like, oh, it's a really cool tree. What is it? And there you go. So, and they had tons of tulips, even though the tulip beds next to the George Washington statue were a little not quite what they usually are because there's renovations going on there. There was still a ton of them around the garden. So it was good to get some time walking around in there before nightfall, and then actually at night. It's cool to get a whole different view of everything with the lights on and the sun not shining in. So kind of made use of the first few hours of being there. That night, I didn't want to go too far for dinner. I ended up actually at a place called City Table. It's part of the historic Lenox Hotel, also in Back Bay. So that was good. Had some steak frites and a spicy marg there, which has kind of become the theme if I can find them on a menu. So that was a good first few hours back. Then I settled in for the night to get some rest before Sunday, which I kind of figured was going to be a full day. Ended up being even more full than I kind of planned. But got up not too early, but wanted to get moving. And first thing I did was grab a coffee, of course, like usual, an iced mocha. Grabbed it from the Thinking Cup spot over there. I don't know. Not really my favorite. I kind of forgot I had it before, and it was like, so I don't usually like to talk bad of places. And again, it wasn't bad, just I don't know, just wasn't very good. So I have to remember for next time. That's not high on my list of coffees. So, but gave me a little caffeine and got me going. I made sure. And that morning, the first spot I kind of got over to was the Charles River Esplanade. There's a few different spots you can go over, but it's kind of cool because there's like these kind of walkways over the highway there, and to get to the Esplanade, which these pathways along the river there, and you have people walking, jogging, biking, and it's just really cool to see that in the city. And there was also tons of trees and blooms there. The cherry blossom trees there were definitely at peak point, so that was awesome to experience and photograph. There was still some daffodils there as well. And there was ducks and Canada geese and everything. So definitely just a nice way to spend the morning. It was definitely chillier. It was like day started out in the low 40s, got a little warmer, but the sun was out, so that always makes quite the difference. But yeah, so spent a bunch of time there. Again, these are spots I just don't have a ton of good content at this time of year, so it was nice to just walk around and enjoy it with my camera and, try to capture a bunch of different angles, work with the light that I was given. And also this trip, I kind of tried to get some photos of the spots there with people in them. Typically over the years, I've done my best to not get people in the photos because that's more of my style as far as capturing these landscapes and scenery without the people in them. And I still like to do that, but also I realize that a lot of times having people in the photos also helps tell a story and also show off these areas a bit more. And then also for, if any publications or anyone needs photos for an area and they come to me or I reach out, sometimes they want people in the photos. So if I don't have any, I might be missing out on some opportunities there. So it was just trying to kind of beef up my portfolio a bit in that regard. And so I think that's always a good thing as a photographer, to try to think outside of what your normal comfort zone is, and also think about what could be beneficial to you as what you're trying to do with your photography, which I'm trying to just expand my brand and get my work out there more. So so that was definitely something I focused on this trip, and hopefully I succeeded in that. I haven't had too much time yet to go through the photos, but I will be doing that this week after I finish this and editing it to get it up for you guys. So that's where I started the day, was over there by the Charles River. And like I said, I couldn't have hit everything better as far as being peak time. And it was just one of those spots. I could have just hung there all day, but I knew I wanted to check out more spots. So from there, I started to get hungry. I hadn't had breakfast yet, so I made my way to the smaller Bay Village neighborhood. So a lot of these areas like Beacon Hill and Back Bay, North End, South End, downtown, they're all pretty large sections. The Bay Village neighborhood seemed pretty small. I don't know too much about it, honestly. I've been through there, a number of times on my visits. But I had been to this one spot before, and my buddy Jack, who's up there, was like, oh, yeah, obviously you have to get over to Mike and Patty's for a breakfast sandwich. And then I remembered it when I walked up. I was like, oh, yeah, I've been here. But, yeah, it's a tiny little spot on a corner, and there's like 2 or 3 seats inside, and there's people have called in orders or done online, and you go into order, there's not much room to stand there, and the guys in the little kitchen there are kind of going a million miles an hour making all these breakfast sandwiches for all the orders coming in. But that was a really solid bacon, egg, and cheese, so you definitely can't go wrong there. So that's kind of how I fueled myself with some food for energy for the rest of the day. And then from there, I made my way back to the public garden, which again, I love spending time in. And it's cool to see people from all over the place there enjoying Boston, and public gardens, obviously one of those places where tourists do flock to. So, and then you also had locals there just enjoying, their lunches, and people walking their dogs. So on a beautiful sunny day, it was just a really nice experience. I sat down, and a squirrel friend kind of came up to me. Obviously, they're used to people giving them snacks there. And being, at my home here in Guilford, I do feed my squirrels and chipmunks. I hand feed them peanuts. I had to give this guy a little treat, so I had a bag of nuts with me in my backpack. So I gave him a few snacks, and he was certainly appreciated. So that was my little stop of the day. Then from there, after I was there for a little bit, again, I was trying to get some shots of the beautiful cherry blossom tree. There was one of them especially that was just kind of, you have the footbridge from the public garden there in the background and a path to the right of it. So just trying to get shots, again, with and without people, which was tough. But from there, I headed north to the Beacon Hill neighborhood, another historic area up there, kind of north of the public garden. Always been a favorite of mine, and kind of where I spend a lot of time anytime I'm up there walking around. I just love walking those streets and all the beautiful old, homes and buildings there. I'm sure if you've been there, you've seen photos, you've seen the famous Acorn Street, the cobblestones going down, which has become, I know, more overrun in the social media days. So everyone walking down there and having to get a selfie and take a million photos. So did not walk down the street, but I did stop at the top, waited for a little to sneak a few shots to try to get them with nobody in them. But probably going to have to clone a few people out at the bottom of the street if I end up using one. Still always enjoyable, no matter. And from there, I just would find some kind of little side streets to wander down where there wasn't anybody. And I found this one side street in that neighborhood with this beautiful, smaller cherry blossom tree, but it was just like draped over this wall, like kind of over the sidewalk. So I spent a few minutes there getting some different photos. I just really enjoyed that spot. And it's like anything you go to, wherever you go, city or not, there's spots you hit up that everyone shoots, and you want to get your shots there too. But then it's also, the fun part is just kind of walking around and finding your own spots, and your own perspectives of things. So again, this trip was just me getting back there, enjoying the city, walking around with my camera, of course, and just kind of making the most of it, which I definitely did. From there, I made my way over to the State House, the big gold dome building. And there's some nice blossom trees out there. So I spent a little time trying to frame some shots there with the statues and the building itself and the blossoms. And there's like a number of gates there, and it's hard to get some positioning. So I'm like hanging my camera through the gate and trying to like awkwardly get a good photo. So, but again, it always makes it fun and a little more challenging. But, so from there, I just kind of kept making my way up towards the North End part of Boston. And just so happened that not only did I end up there when I did, but it was kind of lunchtime. It was late lunchtime. And I feel like there's not much of a better area of Boston to happen to wander into during lunchtime. You know, the Italian neighborhoods up there and all the great restaurants and bakeries. So the smells start hitting you, and I'm hungry. I've walked a bit at this point, so I kind of started looking around a few places I were gonna try. You know, there was some lines out front, but then I remembered a spot I had been to up there a couple of years ago for dinner called Tratoria Il Panino, and they say it's the oldest trattoria in Boston. So I'm not sure when exactly that was or what qualifies it to be that, but all I know is the food is legit. So is the vibe there, and I went with the gnocchi, and it was excellent. And what I love about this spot too, not only was the food good, but the presentation. They literally bring it out to you in the pan itself. Pop the pan down on the table, and of course I had to get a glass of wine with it. I had a nice glass of Chianti with it, so it was like the perfect early Sunday afternoon lunch up there. And since I was walking forever, some carbs were definitely needed and appreciated. So I enjoyed that. It was nice to kind of sit and relax for a little bit. But then, of course, you start walking, and then you're like, oh, well, even if I'm full, I need to have some kind of dessert that I'm here. So, you start walking up the road, and then there's Mike's Pastries there. That's obviously like one of the most well-known, I guess. And the lines were like insane out the door, multiple lines. And then kind of across the street down a little bit is Modern, another one. And again, the line was out the door. So I wasn't about to wait either. And then I had heard good things about Bova's Bakery. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to the spot down the other way. So I made my way back to where I came from, and I was able to walk into Bova's, and I was hit with, again, amazing smells and the sights. And it was just like display case all around me of just amazing cookies and pastries and everything. And, definitely reminded me of the great spots we have here in New Haven. So, of course, I had to go with the cannoli. I went with the chocolate chip cannoli, and it was amazing. So I couldn't ask for a better lunch and after lunch snack in the North End. So I thought that was successful. And if you couldn't tell by now, episode 6, I definitely value my food when I'm on my photo trips. So I definitely make the most of it and enjoy it. And I did so in Boston. So after lunch, I kind of made my way back through downtown, going south and back Bay Area to the hotel, kind of a little reset. And then I met up with my buddy Jack, who shot the Eclipse with, and he's based out of Boston. He lives there, so he's the man. Make sure you follow him, Jack Darrell Photography. He's always putting up reels and just all sorts of info about Boston throughout the whole year. So definitely a good source if you ever want to know what's going on there or where to go. But we met up that afternoon, and we took a walk down to the South End, which I hadn't been yet. So we walked around some of the neighborhoods there. More blooms, more tulips, more other trees. Then we made our way back to the public garden. We kept thinking like maybe it could be a sunset. I don't know. Maybe, nah. And it was like back and forth, and then it looked like it was going to thin out too much. Then it kind of looked like it was going to be a dud. Then it was like a few minutes before sunset. We're like, wait a minute, it's looking like there could be something. So Jack was actually going to, I think, put the camera away and wrap it up. But we were like, oh, I think you should stay a minute. And all of a sudden the sky started lightening up, and got excited. I've never gotten a killer sunset in Boston on all my visits. So the sky lit up pretty crazy. So trying to get some shots of it there. with like the lagoon and the footbridge and one of the cherry blossom trees there. Then we went over and some shots with the tulips, and then also the George Washington statue. It's kind of right in line. It was perfect. And although the renovations are there, you kind of were able to block them out, and it looked like a silhouette anyway, with the sunset sky. So that was awesome. So not only did I have a great day, but to cap it off with like an amazing best ever sunset I've gotten in Boston, I can't ask for anything else. So that was awesome. And it was good to meet up with my buddy as well. So it's always nice to connect with good friends and fellow photographer buddies as well. So at this point, legs were getting definitely getting tired, and I was sore. So I was like, all right, I'm going to walk back to the hotel, drop off the camera, then find some dinner. And as I'm walking back, not far from the hotel, I noticed this sign for like a bar restaurant, and it looks like a cool vibe. And I could see the menu outside, and it was called Lolita. It was a tequila bar. So I looked at the menu, and like Mexican food. It looked amazing, which I'm a big fan of. And then obviously they had some spicy tequila drinks. So I was like, oh, I'm coming back to this place. So went back to the hotel. But then by that point, I had walked, I think it was over like 12 and a half miles then. So my legs were pretty sore walking on, pavement roads, brick, cobblestone, all that all day. So made my way to the tequila bar, and it was awesome. Really dark, kind of moody vibes, but really cool. I enjoyed it. I sat at not the main bar, but there's like a bar in the back. I sat there, and they had 2 different spicy margs on the menu. So I tried, there's like a strawberry and pineapple one. Tried that one first. It was really good. I got like this habanero chicken quesadilla and some Mexican street corn off the cob. With the beard, it's hard to eat it on the cob. You just make a mess of yourself. So off the cob was the move there. And the bartender hooked it up, brought some chips over to scoop and eat. So he definitely got a good tip for that. So yeah, I definitely recommend that spot if you like Mexican food, tequila drinks, and just kind of a cool, darker vibe. Definitely enjoyed that. Yeah, and then, had another good sleep, and it was cold the next morning. I don't know if it was in the 30s when I first woke up. So stayed in bed a little longer. There was no clouds really, so it was just kind of harsh light right away. So got up, got moving, and made my way over to Tate, the Back Bay location, for a nice breakfast sandwich and a nice mocha there. It was better than the one the day before, so I was happy. Just sat there, just kind of taking it all in. Caught up on some Instagram stories and kind of went through some photos I had gotten the day before, and then took one last walk around the public garden just before I was going to get in the car and head back to Connecticut. So I have to say I fit a lot in a short time there, but it was great to get back, and kind of what I wanted to get across besides recounting my weekend there was just that if you've been thinking about going to Boston or wanting to get back there, or if you've happened to never have gone there, this is your reminder to head up there now. Book it whenever you can. It's just a great city. You can walk around everywhere. It's clean. And right now the blooms are kind of going wild. So if you can get up there for like a day trip soon after hearing this, there's definitely still stuff going on. And then, you can always look around last minute like I did and find some, decent hotel specials. So, again, I stayed at the Cople Square Hotel, and it was great. It was a good deal I got last minute for the 2 nights. So that would be, so my recommendation is to get up there, do a day trip, do an overnight, stay for 2 nights. There's lots going on when I was there. The Bruins and Celtics both had playoff games. Obviously, baseball season's now here for the Red Sox. So always a lot going on. It's fun. Lots of great food and great blooms and great sights. So definitely get there. And obviously, if you watch the video version, you'll see photos of these spots and everything kind of up here. And keep an eye out on my Instagram at Ryan Zipp. I'm sure I'll be posting some coming up. So so that was Boston. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about quick was another photography experience of mine this week. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I posted some shots from this on Wednesday. So We had the full moon, the pink moon, the full pink moon, which is named that because this time of year you have so many pink flowers out. It doesn't actually have to do with the color of the moon, like some people think, because the moon is always reddish pink when it's rising from the horizon. So it has nothing to do with the color. But every month I try to go out to somewhere different that I haven't captured the full moon rising from before. And last year for this same moon, I attempted to shoot it at a spot in Branford, Connecticut, coastal town next door to where I live in Guilford. And unfortunately, Mother Nature said nope, and it was too cloudy. So it was like one of those things, maybe another time when it would line up. And basically, it's just at a coastal spot where the Thimble Islands are off in the distance, which is like the historic group of islands with houses on them here in Branford. And I wasn't sure exactly where it would rise, but I knew it would be up over the islands in the distance there. So I went back on Tuesday night and set up. And at first, it did not look good because after a clear day, it just, of course, like what happens a lot of times when I do these, clouds started moving in, and it was kind of looking ominous, especially in the lower part of the sky. So I kept checking the time. And then when it got to like 7:40, when it was supposed to start, didn't see anything. And then off in the distance, I saw this little glow above the horizon. And it was fuzzy because it was coming through these thicker clouds, but it gave me a little glimmer of hope. So I kind of got my camera gear together and, got it set on the tripod, got the settings going, and then it kind of got up. And as it got up a little bit higher, it started to break through the clouds a little bit, and I started shooting. And some of the early shots were actually kind of cool, where the clouds were blocking like most of the moon or then part of it as it was coming up. And then probably one of my favorite shots is like right when it cleared completely, I got a shot, so it still wasn't too far above the horizon, but was out of those thicker lower clouds. It was just nice, obviously, to get it, but also it's always extra sweet for some of these when it's like redemption, because a lot of times like this one, I try for a shot and you can't just go back next week or next month for it, because with these, whether it's something seasonal with blooms or with the moon rising in a specific location, that only happens like once a year. So if you don't get it at that time, you literally have to wait till that time next year to get it. So this was one of those. So, getting the shot, getting a number of them as it rose up higher in the sky. On the last ones I took, it was higher up, but I loved how you could see the glow rippling like in the waves in the water in front of me. So use a little bit of a wider focal length to get that. But it was just, it's always awesome to capture it. It's just no matter how many times you've seen a amazing full moon rising, it never gets old. So that was awesome. So this past week had a few good things as far as great experiences, great photos, and just now with the days getting longer and things getting warmer again, we're in springtime, so the vibes are getting even better. So so make sure to check out my Instagram at Ryan Zipp. I'm sure most of you follow me already. That's how you even know about this podcast. But if somehow you're listening or watching and you don't, that's where to go see my work. And the plan is to keep capturing more blooms throughout the spring, working on kind of what I'm going to be doing for May and June now. So kind of hashing out that schedule. So excited to kind of see where these next few months take me, to maybe some new spots and some old favorites as well. So we'll see what happens there. I'll also be posting some stuff from years past on Instagram to give you guys ideas of places that are going to be having more things going on. And then obviously tune back into more podcast episodes to talk about these things. So I think I think we're going to wrap it for today. Again, this is episode 6, and I appreciate you guys kind of coming along on this journey with me, and we'll see where it takes us next week and beyond. So for now, I hope you guys all have a great week, and remember to book your trip to Boston ASAP. And next full moon next month, make sure you pick out a good spot and you go out there and enjoy it. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.